Hello, beautiful souls. I'm your host, Nicole, and welcome to the Intuition Age. My intention for this podcast is to cultivate a sacred space where we can collectively evolve into higher states of conscious and self-awareness. I believe that the sustenance and purpose of our being is already located within the depths of our souls. We just have to rediscover and realign with it. It's time to go inward to find all the answers, clarity, and knowledge we seek. So let's journey within. Hello, and welcome to a Soulo episode on my show, The Intuition Age. I haven't recorded a solo episode since the first few episodes that I've published. I honestly just became accustomed to having these wonderful, intelligent, profound guests on my show and just conversing through conscious conversations with them that I haven't really felt the need to sit here with this microphone in front of me and just share, I guess, my innate wisdom and my spiritual experiences with you all. I am excited to do that today. I am also a little apprehensive because I do struggle a little bit still with speaking my truth fully and sharing my vulnerability with others. And this topic is actually really personal. I have clips from a recording of a past life regression that I did in October 2020. And it is raw, it is real. I was obviously under a state of hypnosis, a really deep meditative state. So I do feel a little bit vulnerable sharing my past life regression recording with whoever is listening to this. But what I really did take from that past life regression session was such profound symbolism that I really wanted to deconstruct. And I really want to take this synthetic approach of these psychic dynamics in order to really identify that vivid symbolism and archetypes that existed within my past life regression to really enforce actual transformational progress in my personal life, and in turn just help others kind of recognize the symbols that they are presented with in their lives. I do think our intuition kind of presents us with, especially if we're very visual people like myself, I really do think our intuition presents us with all these different archetypes and symbols that we personally, our soul knows to be true and our soul knows to hold meaning with our particular transformation and progression throughout this projected life, throughout parallel frequencies, and throughout all of our lifetimes. So I guess the only advice, even if you're not doing a past life regression, just really be vigilant to all the symbols and archetypes that are being presented to you right now, because they probably do hold a deeper meaning to your existence, and really deciphering those and deconstructing those may actually lead you to a more fulfilled personal journey. So I think what makes most sense in terms of me presenting you with this past life regression is just to talk about it very chronologically as it was presented to me as I was in that state of hypnosis. Obviously, chronologically, it just didn't really make sense because, again, it was very heavy in symbolism. So I was kind of meant to take those symbols that were presented to me and come back and kind of understand what deeper meaning they held in my personal journey. But I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I experienced. I'm going to throw in some clips during the actual past life regression that I recorded, and then just kind of deconstruct some of the symbols that were presented. So, to start, I kind of want to tell you what my intentions going into the past life regression were, why I sought out a past life regression, If you haven't tuned into it already, I highly, highly recommend first listening to my past life regression episode with the beautiful Shannon Amrine. We completely just deconstruct the meaning of past lives and multiple lives and talk about how actually past life regressions and tapping into our soul's journey throughout lifetimes, throughout parallel realities, actually holds importance and significance into our reality right now. But okay, so to start, I've always been interested in past lives. I've tapped into a lot of past lifetimes just through my own meditative abilities, through just like general Reiki sessions. And I've gained a lot of insight into how they have influenced like my karma in this lifetime and my soul's purpose in this lifetime and my connection to higher dimensional beings in different frequencies like elementals or star beings. But something just kind of felt off recently with me. And I understand like the world, like it's 2020, the world is going through a huge paradigm shift right now. And obviously, as a human, as a light body in a human form, I am being affected by that collective conscious elevation as well. But in my personal life recently, something has just kind of felt stagnant. Something has kind of been off. I just don't feel like I'm fully embodying myself. So, timeline wise, I kind of started feeling this way maybe like during the summer of 2020, like August. And come October, it was just so prevalent. I felt so stuck and stagnant, and I just did not feel any type of interconnection with myself anymore or with my projected reality and anyone or anything that was within it. So I don't know. I guess I thought that maybe a past life regression would help me gain some clarity into that, understand why I had felt this way. And it actually did bring a lot of insight and clarity into that. So originally I had written intentions that I wanted this to be a very like elaborate philosophical experience. I've tapped into kind of bits and pieces of lifetimes in like ancient Egypt or ancient star systems, the Pleiades and Lyran, and I feel like divinely connected to like ancient Greek mythology, especially like Athena. And I I wanted to feel that divine connection again. I wanted to know that there was greater sustenance to my being. There was greater purpose to being in this human form. I wanted to reassure I know myself to be so great and so grand. And I just kind of wanted to bring that back. But the lifetime that I channeled was nothing what I had anticipated. I guess, and this may be just like the very egotistic human aspect of myself, but I really wanted to see myself as like a warrior or interacting directly with these ascended masters. And that wasn't presented to me. That wasn't the reassurance I got, but instead I got the reassurance in the form of just an interconnectedness to my human form and to my soul's journey. So, after much thought and after talking to my past life regressionist for a little before the actual session, I just came to the conclusion that, okay, like I want to revert back to a time where I felt connected to myself again. I felt happiness and fulfillment being a human, just an ordinary human, but also still being so spiritually evolved and ascended. So I just wanted to find a way again to balance both of those components. When I feel disconnected from my projected physical reality, I tend to revert into like my crown chakra and live a very like higher dimensional floating reality, and I lose touch of my human self, and my human body was actually suffering because of this. I was getting a lot of like back pain, and I was very malnourished around October, and I needed to remind myself that my light body chose to have a human form in this lifetime. There's a reason why I got incarnated here and now, and I needed to be reminded of how to balance the soul and the body in order to have just a life filled with vitality and purpose and fulfillment. So I started getting regressed.
While still remaining in a very deep state, I want you to look around and I want you to share with me. Are you inside or are you outside?
Outside.
Is it daytime or nighttime?
Daytime.
And are you alone?
Yes. And I guess the first thing that I saw was just myself. I was in the regression, I was in first person. So I just kind of like looked down at myself, and I was a young girl. I got the insight that I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I had this like ashy long brown hair. And the first thing my regressor asked me is like, what are you wearing? And I looked down and it looked like kind of buffalo skin, which didn't really make sense in the context of where I was situated. So when I was looking around, it looked like a very kind of like medieval peasant village. So there's some like little like wooden houses, but also like I don't know, like lots of like cobblestone on the ground, and like little like bakery shops where like bread was being made. And yeah, like it definitely wasn't from this time period. The sense that I got, I asked my this conscious self, asked my past life consciousness, like, what timeline is it? Like, what's the date? Where are we? And she told me it was around 1300s. She didn't give me an exact date, but she said around 1300 to 1360 AD. And I was told, I wasn't given an exact country, but I was told we were located in Europe, and I got very like Celtic European vibes. So I just wanted so I didn't know this as I was in the regression, but I did Google up that time period in Europe, and it does kind of make sense as how this like regression ends up unfolding. But in 1346 to 1353 AD, that was actually when the Black Plague was occurring in human history. And for those of you who don't know, we've all learned about the Black Plague, but yeah, the deadliest pandemic in human history, which I found so astonishing because we're currently going through a deadly pandemic as well. So just the fact that my conscious decided to revert myself back to a time where I also went through another deadly pandemic. I found relevance in that, and I already found connection in why that was brought forth to me. So I want to go back to the buffalo skin.
And what are you wearing?
It looks like some sort of animal skin. It's like a brown outfit made out of some sort of animal. I think a buffalo. So, buffalo, it really is an animal, a sacred animal that walks a very spiritual, sacred path, honoring literally every walk of life. A buffalo is known to help people like establish a deep connection to Mother Earth. And it actually asks you to help like endangered species of the world. The buffalo as like a spirit animal or totem animal really teaches us that true prosperity comes when we are grateful for what we have and when we actually live in harmony and love with everyone and everything that is contained within our universe. So I'm wearing this buffalo skin, and I'm located in this like little European village around 1300 to 1360 BC. And on one side of the village, there's this bridge, and this bridge is locating our little peasant village to this like enclosed area where you could see like a castle there, and it looks more where like noble people live. And on the other side of our peasant village, there's this like dark forest. So here we are in our little village. I'm situated right in the middle of the village, and I see on one side this bridge that crosses us over to this like beautiful nobleman town, and then on the other side there's this dark forest. So during the regression, all I see is myself going to this bake shop, and no one was around for some reason. And I wasn't quite sure why. I was a young girl, but my family wasn't there with me.
Where is everyone?
I think at a festival. I didn't go.
Why didn't you go?
There was something I had to do.
What did you have to do?
I had to take food, steal food from the empty shops. It was for the animals, the stray animals. No one takes care of them. So I go into this bread shop and I steal a piece of bread. And I wanted to bring it to this horse, this wild horse that lived in the forest. And I was like, the only reason I could go now was because my parents aren't around and they tell me that the forest is dangerous and that I'm not allowed to go there. So I have to go when they're not around. And my regressionist was like, okay, like, first of all, why are you alone in this village by yourself? Like, you're like 9 years old. And I kind of got the insight that there was what I originally thought was like a festival happening in the Nobletown village. And everyone from like my peasant village went there because there was this monetary prize. And that was kind of the only insight I gained at first, but then we'll come back to that. So I stole this bread and I go into the forest and I find my horse, this beautiful wild horse. And personally, in this lifetime, I connect so deeply with nature, so deeply with animals. I use telepathy to connect with them and communicate with them. I've been doing it ever since I was a child. So when symbols and archetypes show up to me, it's very often in the form of like animals or nature. So the horse, for people who don't know, it really signifies like overcoming obstacles and how you should carry yourself when you're in the face of adversity. It really, especially a wild horse, speaks about freedom. It holds this innate desire to be free and be naturally wild and powerful. And when contained, the horse, all it wants to do is break free. When a horse appears to you, whether it be in meditation, past life regression, a dream, it really asks you to focus on what you're spending your energies on and if you feel trapped and if you're giving your personal freedom or power away to others. And it really makes you like reevaluate what aspects of your life you're allowing other people to kind of take advantage of you or treat you harshly. It really makes you introspect whether you're putting your needs first or the demands of others before your own.
Anything else?
I'm in the forest now, drinking water with the horse.
Okay.
So I'm with this horse, and we're just sitting in the forest by a pond, and water, it's so symbolic for like our emotional state. And I'm drinking out of this beautiful clear pond. Me and the horse are both drinking together this beautiful water. And small bodies of water, like ponds, really do indicate tranquility in our lives. It really was like a deep, direct insight into my psyche. And it really brought insight into having more clear thoughts and images. It showed me that the universe and my higher self is presenting me with the clearest, most obvious symbols, and I'm kind of just disregarding it. So it was just a reminder for me that everything I need to know, my direction, it's being presented before me. I just need to choose whether I want to continue ignoring it or actually look forward and tap into it. So as I'm looking around in this forest, I'm sitting by a clear pond where me and the horse are drinking water, and all around us we have toads and frogs and all these little mushrooms, the red and white ones, and there's dragonflies everywhere. And we're going to go into all that symbolism. But one of the things about the forest is that I wasn't allowed in there. And when I asked my consciousness why that was, it was because there was a beast that apparently lived in this forest.
What's dangerous about it?
Everyone in town is scared that there's a beast that eats their crops and their cattle.
Are you afraid?
No.
Why aren't you afraid?
because I think it's misunderstood.
Okay.
And the beast actually appeared to me, and I got kind of emotional when I interacted with it. It was a werewolf standing on its hind legs, maybe like 7 feet tall. And my regressionist asked me, she was like, "Are you afraid? Like, are you scared?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. Like, this werewolf is misunderstood. The people don't understand him." I'm like, "This is his home in the forest, and he's just contained here. People are fearing someone that they don't even understand." And when I Googled werewolves during this time period, it actually happened at the Middle Ages in European history. So between like 5th century BC to the Renaissance, which is like 13th century, 14th, 15th century, there was a heightened interest and possibly conspiracy and fear of werewolves during this time. And actually, around the 15th century, at the end of the Renaissance period, that's when like werewolf trials, along with the witch trials, actually began in Europe. So I didn't really have much of an interaction with this werewolf. I think it really wanted to come forth and tell me, like, this is so cliche, but don't judge a book by its cover. Like, really try to deconstruct your fear. If you're afraid of something, like, why is that? Sometimes things that we're afraid of aren't as scary as we're presenting or thinking that they are. So it really just kind of allowed me to realize that sometimes even our thoughts are misunderstood. Sometimes we misanalyze what we're thinking and what we're feeling. So, really just take the time to get to know what you're thinking and who you're interacting with, and even your path. Like, if it is aligned with you, just look at it very neutrally and don't try to go in feeling any low vibrational emotions such as fear. There are a lot of mushrooms in this forest. They almost look like cartoons, red with spots. So the mushrooms, again, like this whole forest was surrounded by these beautiful, like little red and white mushrooms. And again, if you'll recall my intention going into this, I really wanted to feel that interconnectedness within myself again and just with my greater environment. And mushrooms notoriously are known to be homes of like gnomes, pixies, fairies, and mushrooms are known for a lot of like ceremonial or spiritual rituals. The little red and white ones that I was discussing and that I was seeing were actually used by European shamans as a hallucinogenic agent. And apparently, these specific mushrooms actually contain two toxins that will reduce the body's response to fear. Super interesting. And then also the symbolism of like a toadstool, for example, other than being hallucinogenic and other than like being homes to like gnomes, fairies, and other elementals, mushrooms are really considered symbols of good fortune. They represent rapid growth. If you've ever even just been like outside in your backyard or front lawn and you have clear grass one day and the next day you wake up and mushrooms are popping up everywhere, it really shows transformation and growth and progression just so quickly. And I think that was a reassurance for me that I am transitioning into this new way of being, this new projected reality, and just to go with the flow. Another cliche, but just allow it to happen, because once I tapped into that, once I kind of surrender to the flow of the natural way my life is supposed to be progressing, that's when the rapid growth is going to occur. So while I'm still sitting at this pond with the horse, again, there's all these like dragonflies flying around, and a dragonfly, in terms of like spirit animal, really, and you'll see symbolism reappear and reappear in this past life regression, but it really represents change and transformation and adaptability and just deep self realization. And the change that it usually represents is referred to like more mental and emotional maturity and understanding of a deeper meaning of life. And I didn't mention this in my past life regression recording, but as I was in this regression in the middle of the forest, all I see is this grand tree of life. And I knew immediately internally, I was like, that's the tree of life. And that is representing right now my personal development, my uniqueness, my individual beauty, my individual growth. And the branches of this tree just were so strong and they were just growing upwards into the sky. I couldn't even see past where they were growing. And it really just represented my need to continue to grow stronger and build my mind, like strive for greater knowledge, greater wisdom, and more experiences. That the possibilities really are endless. Like they expand beyond what I'm even able to see. And the ancient tree of life symbol, it's really been found to represent like physical and spiritual nourishment. So the fact that I was feeling malnourished physically in this reality, the tree was just kind of reminding me, come on, like let's take care of your physical and spiritual nourishment, balance those two, and just continue to transform and to grow. And again, a lot of like elemental symbolism, but the tree is notorious for being homes to so many earth spirits as well.
Looking around, is there anything else you want to share?
There's something different about this forest, something magical here. The horse wants me to go into a cave. So, as I finish drinking the water with the horse, I see this cave in the distance. And at first, I was a little like hesitant to go inside. Like, it is a cave in the middle of the forest, but I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to see what's in this cave. And as I'm walking in, it's not a deep cave or anything, it was like pretty hollow. I'm going in and I see all light language. And I knew immediately, like, I didn't even need to ask. I was like, okay, my star beings, my star family communicating with me have always been communicating with me throughout all my human lifetimes. So I see their light language on the wall and I continue deeper in the cave. And there's this beautiful, it kind of looked like a clear quartz crystal all the way at the end. And it was stuck there, stuck in the ground. And I immediately knew, I was like, this cave belongs to someone. Someone lives here. Like, what's the purpose of this crystal within a cave?
What does it belong to?
It's not human.
What is it?
I don't know what this is.
Okay.
It looks like, I don't, like a human and a frog. And as I'm like turning to leave this, the owner of the cave appears right at the end of the cave. And it's this like frog humanoid being. Never in my life have I ever envisioned this or seen anything with any type of frog humanoid before. But it was standing at the doorway of the cave. And again, with all the creatures that I interacted with, were all using telepathy to communicate. So this frog humanoid gave me this like drink. I think it was either like a tea or soup. And it told me that like I must take that it was for me and I must take it. And I wasn't sure why I didn't take it while I was in the cave. I'm like, okay, this is something I'm going to bring home with me. And I'll decide then if I want to take some drink that some frog humanoid stranger just gave to me. Like, I was 9 years old. Like, one thing we're reminded as children is like, don't take things from strangers. So I was a little bit hesitant to drink that. I really wanted to reflect on it and contemplate and introspect as to whether or not I was going to drink this. But frogs, so interesting, and so interesting when we learn about what this drink was. But this frog, like, frog symbolism is all about just like cleansing. Frogs are very obviously dependent on water. So, again, like tuning into your emotions, frogs really do just help cleanse you, cleanse yourself of like toxic energies, negativity, emotional release, even. And I think it appeared to me to really help me understand that I must detoxify all these stuck and stagnant, toxic energies that I'm carrying so that my health can be different, so that I may care for my physical form differently. And it really did, again, water make me see, bring clarity that I must release a lot of emotions that I'm carrying, a lot of even past life emotions, but especially like childhood traumas that I'm holding on to. Like, it's time to let those go. Again, all the symbolism, the tree, just growth, and the horse, freedom, like all of that is so close to me. I'm so ready to tap into it, but I'm carrying a lot of stuck energy. And I think it appeared to me to really help me understand that I must detoxify all these stuck and stagnant, toxic energies that I'm carrying, a lot of even past life emotions, but especially like childhood traumas that I'm holding on to. Like, it's time to let those go. Again, all the symbolism, the tree, just growth, and the horse, freedom, like all of that is so close to me. I'm so ready to tap into it, but I'm carrying a lot of toxins and baggage in my emotional, mental, physical bodies that are just yearning to be released right now so that I may tap into this new way of being for myself. So, going back to the crystal in the cave, in ancient cultures, there's actually this superstition called a toadstone. So, a lot of like ancient cultures, even European ancient cultures, they believe that there was this like little crystal that could be found inside a toad's head. And when you get this jewel, you place it on like a ring or a necklace or a bracelet, and it would actually heat up or change color when you're in the presence of something toxic or poisonous. And you could actually find reference to it in Shakespeare's play, As You Like It. The old Duke says, "Sweet are the uses of adversity, which, like the toad, ugly and venomous, wears yet a precious jewel in its head." And of course, I didn't know this prior going into my past life regression, but once you start actually researching the symbolisms that you're presented with, all of it just becomes so interconnected and starts making so much sense. So I'm leaving the forest holding this drink, the soup, the tea, whatever it was, and I'm back in my village and no one's there yet. So I'm like, I'm just going to start passing the bridge. And as I'm crossing over the bridge is so symbolic. And I didn't know that, but like Freud, for example, has a lot of texts actually deconstructing the meaning of bridge symbolism in psychosis and in psychological development. So that was something I found super interesting. But I'm standing on the bridge in my regression, and I'm just kind of like taking one step forward into like the noble land, king land, and then one step back into my peasant village. And I'm kind of shifting like front, back, and I'm not quite sure why.
The festival, the king, his son's sick, the money, it was a prize to see if anyone could heal the son. The soup I think it can.
And then I gained insight that there wasn't a festival happening on the other side of the bridge. It was actually the king's son was sick and dying, and there was a reward for whoever was able to help him get better and to save him. And I'm holding this tea still, and I'm like, I know if I give the king's son my tea, he will be cured, he will be healed. But this is something I deal with in this life. It's a dilemma where I'm like, do I put myself first? Like, do I do the self healing? This tea was made for me. I'm supposed to take it. That's why the frog gave it to me. Or should I sacrifice my well being so that I may save someone else, which I always do. That's something I always do. I always put others' needs before my own, even though I know that when I care for myself and when I elevate my personal energies first, that in turn is going to project and help heal and help nourish others even more. But here I am again in my past life dealing with the same dilemma that I deal with in this reality as well. I'm unsure whether to heal the king's son or heal myself. So the bridge in my past life was symbolic for the rich and the poor, health and sickness, good, bad, but bridge symbolism really does represent that. It's one or the other, these two distinct realms. Usually, a bridge is like a crossing over from like earth to heaven. In dreams, it really is a passage from one state into another, from your current state into a higher one, some sort of like ascension, the end of one cycle into a new cycle for you. And this bridge was connecting parts that were previously separated. Us poor peasants would never be able to connect with the king prior to him obviously needing something from us, some sort of saving grace for his son. But the bridge connected something that was previously separate, something separate, just like me in this past life regression, connecting my conscious mind to my unconscious and remembering those unconscious experiences that I had in other lifetimes. It really did unite opposites. But as I'm on this bridge, I did make the choice not to cross over. I started seeing the townspeople come back to our peasant village, and I saw my parents cross over the bridge back to our peasant town. And I just went with my parents back to our little like wooden cabin, holding my drink still. I didn't tell them that I was in the forest. And we go back, and I'm like, fuck it. It's time to drink my drink. And just remember that a frog humanoid gave this to me. So I drink this tea or this soup or whatever it was, and I kind of start hallucinating, which is interesting because frogs are known, well, like toads are known mainly for having like poisonous, like hallucinogenic properties, especially like the giant monkey frog, they're called.
And what's going on now? Are you still feeling the effects of the tea mixture you drank?
Yes, I feel very. I feel every part of me.
How does that feel?
I feel so whole.
And I was hallucinating, and I wasn't like tripping or seeing anything strange. I just felt every single bone, every single limb inside of my body, and it just felt all so connected and so whole. And it was a remembrance of every aspect of my being just being reconnected, the emotional, physical, energetic, spiritual components just all one again. And what's really interesting, the frog goes through these life cycles where it involves like at least one major transformation in their life from like tadpole to adult. But regularly, toads and frogs shed their skin, which a lot of cultures actually see this as a form of like symbolic recreation and constant transformation and constant of evolution. So this frog humanoid gave me this hallucinogenic drink just to remind myself that I am about to evolve. I need to shed that old skin. Again, so much, it just like the universe couldn't have put it more clear to me. Like the clarity it gave me, reiterating these same symbols, these same meanings over and over and over again. Just that transformation is awaiting me. And I just need to be reminded of how to accept and how to balance all aspects of my being and just to shed those negative toxins, those blockages, that stagnant energy through emotional and mental traumas and imprints that I've been carrying and just release that so that I can branch out like the tree of life, so that I may expand into realms where I'm not even envisioning for myself yet. Like it's all just awaiting me. And I feel like I'm getting like emotional now, but I needed that reassurance. I know I went in originally with the intention to see myself as like a great warrior, goddess, or ascended master, but all I needed was to be reassured that me in this ordinary human form can be so extraordinary. And I'm grateful for that experience. And it's now been almost 2 months since I had the regression. And I just feel so aligned again and so connected to myself. I'm nourishing my physical form. And I'm just in this constant state of remembrance, remembering who I am, what my purpose in this lifetime is. I'm integrating aspects of my whole self, spending all my lifetime, spending all my elements as a cosmic being, as an earthly being, and just remembering why I'm here. And I feel reassured. I know I'm ready for a different reality. And all I needed for that month or this past month and these upcoming months is to really just focus on, again, balancing myself and getting ready for that major transformation to occur. So I'm really happy that I was able to share this past life regression with all of you and the symbolism and archetypes that were instilled in this journey that I experienced. I think our soul's journey is just so sacred, and you don't really need a past life regression to remember your soul's journey or your soul's purpose or to alleviate some of that karma. Just we internally know what's true to us. And sometimes we just need to be reminded of that. There's so many distractions in this world right now that sometimes it's just great to literally take an hour to yourself and just reunite yourself with your physical body, with your soul, with your emotions, with your mentality, with your energy, and just allow yourself to feel every aspect of your being and just reconnect with every element of yourself. It's such a gracious and profound feeling to remember that we are so whole, we are so purposeful. And I really needed that remembrance through the form of a past life regression, but this is something you could just tap into by yourself. And as we're still in 2020 and the Great Conjunction hasn't occurred yet, I really just wish everyone such incredible transformation and insight and spiritual growth, awareness, development throughout these next few months. 2021 is going to be so expansive for all of us. And I just wish everyone the utmost success and vitality and health and optimism as we embark on this collective journey together. If you feel enlightened and inspired by the intuition age, I would be eternally grateful if you head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. This platform truly allows me to act as a catalyst for expanding and elevating human consciousness, both individually and collectively. All shares, downloads, and subscribes help me distribute these divine topics to even more conscious souls. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next episode.